Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're going to be working on the doll Sitting Pretty and Be Smart jumper. So it's this cute little top with the cute Peter Pan type color and this really beautiful Be Smart jumper, which I love. If you wanted to make the Be Smart jumper without the straps and just the skirt, that's also super sweet and would be super quick and cute. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our Sitting Pretty top. I'm gonna grab my fabric, and what I'm doing, I'm just using this white. So I'm gonna grab the right side, put it right side face up, and I'm gonna grab my back or my front and put it right side face down. So the back and front are facing each other, right sides together. The right side of the front and the right side of the back are touching, and we're gonna clip here at the shoulders, and we're gonna go ahead and sew. I am going to be using my serger because we need a stretch stitch, but you can use, if you don't have a serger, you can also use your sewing machine with a stretch stitch. Zigzag stitch, lightning bolt stitch, whatever kind of stretch stitch works best for you. So we're gonna sew those. While we're at it, we're gonna prep our sleeves. Now I am going to be making the gather sleeve just because I think it's super cute with the little poof at the top. But if you're not making the gathered version, then you will omit this step. And I'm also going to be doing the short sleeve, so I'm also going to be doing the band. So if you're not doing the band, you can omit part of it too. If you're going to do the band, we would attach the bands next. But since I'm doing the gather, we're gonna go ahead and grab our sleeve, and we're gonna use our pattern and mark our where there's a little star where we're going to mark, and that's where we're gonna gather. So we're gonna put a gathering stitch from start at the front and start at the back. Oop, I just removed the pin, the clip. So we're gonna start at the top at that star and go all the way around to the cap, around the top cap to that next star. And we're also going to gather the bottom of the sleeve because we're gonna put our band right there, and the band is a little bit smaller. So it's not a lot of gathering, it's just a little gathering at the bottom. So we're gonna put in a gather stitch at the top and at the bottom of the puff sleeve, if you're doing the puff sleeve version. So let's do those things. Now that we've got those sleeves gathered, I'm gonna grab my cuff. We're gonna fold it wrong sides together. And if you're doing armbands, let's pretend these are my armbands, and you can do that as well right now. Fold your armbands right sides together. Wrong sides together, I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep saying right sides. Wrong sides together. If you're doing armbands, you're gonna grab your bodice, you're gonna half your armband, and you're gonna spread it out right sides together, that raw edge together, and sew it on if you're doing armbands. If you're doing regular sleeves, you're just gonna grab your sleeve, you're gonna find your half, where your top half is, and you're gonna place that half right on that shoulder seam, and we're gonna go one way and then the other way if you're doing regular sleeves. But since I'm doing the puff sleeve, I'm gonna attach my, oh yeah, and if you're doing regular sleeve, you can go ahead and hem it now. But since I'm doing armband for my short sleeve with band, I'm going to pull my gathering stitch so there's the width of my band and it's nice and even. And then I'm pulling my bobbin thread. So what I did is I did a long basting stitch, that's like a size 4, and then pulling my bobbin thread to gather, and I'm gonna place the right side of my band to the right side of my sleeve, and we're gonna pin at that raw edge, and we're gonna sew that band on, and we're gonna do that for both. And then we're going to go ahead and sew our sleeve on. The way we're gonna do that is, like I said, I mark that top where my half is, and because I'm doing the puff sleeve, I'm gathering that top a little bit right here, And I'm just gathering it enough that my sleeve will fit. So we're gonna start right at that edge right here, and it has to fit to the middle right here. So this is my middle. Let's go ahead and pin that middle with my seam. And we're gonna go down the side to my edge. And I had this colored thread on my sewing machine, and I figure I'm gonna remove it anyways. This is just a basting stitch, so that's why. And maybe this will be helpful for you to see my actual basting stitch on there. And if for some reason it's still not gathered enough, like there's a little bit of extra fabric, just make sure you gather that little bit extra. Maybe I didn't gather enough, and those raw edges are touching right side of the sleeve, touching the right side of the bodice, and then we're gonna go ahead and sew that. So I'm gonna go over to my serger in a minute, or sewing machine with a stretch stitch. I'll sew that band on my sleeve and my shoulder cap on. I'm gonna do that for both. All that is sewn on. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna remove that basting stitch. I'm just gonna grab this big needle and pull on it and remove it. Now we're gonna fold it right sides together, and we're gonna sew those side seams, matching up those raw edges right sides together. Now for the color, if you want to go ahead and add some interfacing to one of the sides of the color, you can go ahead and do that for more stability, so you have a stiffer color. But because I'm using a scuba fabric that's already pretty, has a really good structure, I'm not going to use any interfacing. So we're gonna go ahead and go to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew down around the whole color and over. Don't sew the inside yet. That's gonna get sewn to the neckline. So I'm gonna go ahead and pin and sew over, around, and over. I'm just going to use a straight stitch on my sewing machine. That's the outside of the color, so it won't get really stretched out. And a sewing machine straight stitch will give it a better look, like around the right here, the inside and around the corners, than doing it with a serger. Now, if you're really confident with a serger and you just want to go with a serger and sew that, you can go ahead and do that. But I think I'm just gonna stick with the sewing machine. Here at the cuff, we have that serger thread. We can just feed it right through that seam allowance with this big tapestry needle. Now, if you want to, there's different ways that you can get rid of that extra serger tail. And we actually have a video on our YouTube page that shows different ways to get rid of it. So if you want to go check that out. And some people even just actually burn them, though I don't know if I would burn them with the white fabric, because I don't want to be able to see it later on. So I'm just tucking it in with this needle, and I find that that works fine. Or sometimes my other favorite is to just zigzag stitch it right to that seam allowance, and I find that that works quite well. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab my collar that I sewed, and I'm going to clip right here at the neck. Don't clip your thread. I'm just clipping at this right here where my turns are, opening them up so that way it is not bulky once I open it. So I'm gonna go all the way around, just kind of clipping at it with my scissors. Don't clip the thread. I also clip right here at the corners. Clip those corners. Then I'm gonna go ahead and grab it and turn it, and use any kind of tool you have to poke those corners out so it's nice and flush. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my top, and I'm going to fold those, well, first the bottom, 1/2 inch seam allowance at the bottom, fold it up. So you might have seen my bodice and thought, well, that's all one piece. I had cut it as one piece, and then I cut the back to open it up to be the mirrored piece on the back. I hope that makes sense. So I had cut that back into just be one piece on the fold, and then I just went ahead and cut down the middle now that I'm opening it up. It doesn't help and it doesn't hinder. It's just I accidentally cut it on the fold. I made a boo-boo, but it doesn't mess up. It doesn't change anything that I've done. I just wanted to mention that because I don't want you to be like, wait a minute, I saw it earlier and it looked like it was just one piece and now it's two. It's supposed to be two pieces. I had just cut it out differently and now I just fixed my boo-boo. All right, once you fold that hem a 1/2 inch, we're gonna fold those back pieces in a 1/2 inch. So we're gonna go ahead and hem all the way down, over and up, our whole bottom and back. And it's all hemmed at a 1/2 inch. Then back here is where we're gonna add our hoop and loop when we are ready to do that. So let's hem. This is already looking super, super cute. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our shoulders and fold them together to find the center of our bodice. And I just do like a little clip to guide me. Something tiny that is not gonna show once I sew it on. And then I'm gonna grab my color and I'm gonna put it face up. So the right side of my color is gonna be facing the right side of my, the right side up. And I'm gonna pin right there where I marked it and go all the way down to the edge. Whoop. Now, if you want to go ahead and baste them together, you can baste them together first. And then you're gonna grab your facing, mark that middle again, and the facing is gonna go right side down on top of your color. So right side's touching of the facing and the color. And I'm going to go all the way down, attaching those raw edges together. And the color will be just stretched out just a tiny little bit to match your bodice. Neck. Pin. Whoop. And we're gonna sew those together. Essentially our color is sandwiched between our bodice and our facing. Let's go sew that. All right, so now we're gonna open our facing up and our collar, pull a collar down, and we're gonna understitch right here so that our seam allowance is stitched onto our facing, collar facing. That way when you open it up, you'll see your facing and you won't see like that ugly stitching right there. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And once we do that, we're gonna grab our thread, our, well, tail, and we're gonna tuck that in. I might just tuck it in while I'm understitching, that way it gets caught on there. And then we're gonna do our hook and loop. And what we're gonna do is, if you look at it, once you place your bodice together, you'll see one needs to be on the top. So we'll place that on the top right here. And what I'm gonna do is, so I have the kind that, it's like cheating, the kind that sticks, peel and stick, because it makes it so much easier for when I go to sew it and it's just sticking on there and I don't have to worry about it coming off. And then on the other side, we're going to do it, put it on the inside, so that way when it goes over, it sticks together. But I'm gonna put that one after I understitch because I wanna catch my facing right there on there. Okay, I'm gonna catch that tail in there so it gets sewn in there. It's very long, I'm gonna trim it a little bit. So we're gonna catch that tail in there so when I understitch it gets caught in there. And then I want, like I said, I want my facing to be down. So I'm gonna put this one right on top on that inside. And then we're gonna go over to my sewing machine and sew around it to just firm it on there. Cause this is a stick, but as soon as I pull on it, it's gonna come off. And I don't want that to happen when the babies are playing with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and fix it, and then it will be done. And we'll be done with our top, and we'll move on to our skirt. When I'm sewing that, I want to catch that facing in there too, on both of them. Now for our jumper. First thing we're going to do is we're going to prep our straps. We're going to fold them right sides together, and we're going to sew that raw edge, those raw edges together to create one long strap. While we're at it, I want to grab my band and I'm going to fold it wrong sides together to create a memory fold. Make sure your iron is not too hot for it. Once that memories fold is created, we're going to go ahead and open it up and sew those short raw edges right sides together. Alright, we're going to clip our strap, or just the I'm just clipping that serger tail off, and I'm going to turn these straps right side out, just using a turning tool. However you want to turn them around is fine. I'm going to steam these flat and put them aside. I'm going to grab my band and I'm going to quarter it. So fold it right over that memory fold we created earlier. Here's my back seam. We're gonna go from our back to the front, and that's my half. And then we're gonna place our back and fronts together and go to the sides, and here are my quarters. 1/4, 2/4. I like to make a little notch just in case if my pins move or whatever, I can still see what my halves were. I'm gonna fold my skirt in half, and here's my front and back. And then I'm gonna match up that front and back I just created and go to the sides. 1 and 2, and those are my quarters. Hey, if you wanna hem your skirt, you can go ahead and do that now. I'm not gonna hem it, I'm just gonna leave it raw because this is fabric that's not gonna fray. It's a knit fabric, so it should be fine, but if you're using a woven fabric for your skirt, you might want to do that. And then I'm gonna attach by matching right sides together those quarter points with those points on the bands that I marked all the way around, and then we're gonna go over and sew it on, and then we'll attach our straps and we'll be done with our cute little outfit. So now we're gonna grab our straps and we're gonna place them, turn my skirt wrong side up. We're gonna place them right sides together to the back, 1 inch away from that seam allowance, from that back seam, and we're gonna pin them, and we're gonna sew top stitch right here at the top and here at the crease. You can top stitch right on that seam allowance right there. And we're gonna do the same for the other one, 1 inch away from the, well, that's not quite 1 inch. I should probably measure, but I'm just gonna go by my finger. 1 inch away, right sides together, because that's the part that you're going to be able to see. And here's the other side as well. And then on the front, we're gonna go ahead and cross the back and come up the front, and we're gonna pin them on the outer edge of our straps. See how our straps are right there? At that outer edge is where we're gonna pin our straps. Again, right sides together, and we're gonna baste them on right here as well. And if you wanna baste them on first and make sure that they fit your doll or whatnot, and use a ruler and actually mark them, you can do that. So let's go ahead and sew those and we'll be done. How cute is this? we are done with our cute little doll outfit. How adorable is this outfit? I love it. I think I need it like human adult size because it's super, super cute. I am loving it. I hope you love this as well. And I hope your little one loves it too. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Please let me know if you have any questions about anything that I did. Comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Come check us out on Facebook and Instagram so you can see what everybody else is making and you can be inspired. And so you can inspire us with your makes. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you all next time.